My name is Stu, and I'm here with Guinn from Save Birmingham. To start things off, I do have one very simple question.
Yes.
Why Birmingham? Why not Gloucester? Why not Leeds? Why not Manchester?
Yep. So it's a mix of different things. One thing was the more realistic and practical matter of our team is not tiny at this point, but it started tiny, and even now it's not like a huge team. So we wanted a scope of a town of a manageable population, practically speaking, because our goal has been to pretty much turn the entire town's population into zombies. So we looked into different cities in medieval times, and of course, we first gravitated towards London, Paris, like those huge capitals, but they were a bit too big for us to manage. And then we started looking at more mid-sized towns that had a long history that goes back all the way to 1300s, which is when the game is set at. And Birmingham, we did find a lot of information from the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery, including like a full diorama of sorts that pretty much reconstructed the town around the time period that we were looking for. So we found a bunch of research material that we could refer to, as well as the additional sense of passion from historians in Birmingham and who study Birmingham's history. And we just found it like a great opportunity for us to learn and be able to more faithfully recreate the town in our game.
Okay. And as playing through it, I noticed like there's a lot of similarities to early Rust, as well as a lot of inspirations, it feels like, from Zomboid. Are there any more unexpected places you guys are kind of pulling inspiration, pulling ideas from to bring in?
Right. Well, we do, of course, first and foremost, have to admit that Zomboid is our primary inspiration. Yes, you caught it, but we do have to give our respect as well, for sure. I guess one of the unexpected ones, even for me, was immersive sims. When you do the physical interactions, you kind of see that the screen turns into like first person, like
yeah, when you're picking things
like
up.
Your eye view, like pretty much.
Yeah.
That part was practically inspired by VR immersive sims, where pretty much every object you can interact with, like throw, touch, like toss around and things like that.
Yeah, I was noticing that like a bucket would behave a lot more differently than when you're trying to throw a bench at a zombie.
Yep, correct. And in one of the gameplay videos that we have put up on the TV, you might see that there's a scene where someone's trying to put a box onto a zombie and things like that. So
this classic Skyrim bucket hat.
That, and also one of them was a little chopped tinier, so we were trying to do Metal Gear Solid as well.
Okay. Now, this is kind of a very, you actually partially answered this. Now, when does this game take place? Because there's a huge difference between Plantagenet, England, when England was still kind of heavily French influenced, versus York or Tudor England, where they were actually trying to sever that connection.
So I guess the time backdrop, actually, it was more, we were trying to aim for like right around the Black Plague. That's why it ended up with the 1300s, 14th century Birmingham, where this one I'm actually not entirely sure, but I think it's like either around the Black Plague or right after the Black Plague, where this zombie plague has also spread in this town.
Okay, so it's not just the twist on the Black Plague. It's something that came right after it.
Pretty much around, yeah. It's kind of, I think we're still trying to fully see what works best for the game. But yeah, I think one of the newest status ailments, which is diseases, includes the Black Plague. So.
And I feel like I was picking up hints of this, but in the future, is there any plan to add like an overarching plot to this?
That's definitely on the table. But we're planning to go into early access first, and the early access will definitely focus more on the sandbox side of things. Again, Zomboid inspiration, of course, yeah, influence, yes, for sure. But even that, we are planning to have some very light narrative framework where like it'll guide you through like a set of journal quests in a way to ensure that you're doing the right things for your survival, but you don't have to like strictly adhere. Again, the inspiration and the influence. But eventually, for official release, we are considering doing like a more story-driven mode, but we'll have to see first what happens with the sandbox mode in early.
It's kind of like with Zombie with like the radio, like how you can. It's not mandatory, But if you know what you're looking for, if you know where to do it, you're gonna get these little bits of story that happen.
Kinda, and like there will be like environmental hints of like what the people of the time thought about this zombie apocalypse and things like that. So there will be some level of backdrop setting and like lore within the game, but it won't be like at least for early access for sure, it won't be like a structured flow of like almost like a linear progression type of thing.
And one last question, tradition here at the VGAs. This game is a food. What food is it?
This one's a hard one for me to answer because, again, like I'm not a core developer on the team. So this might be more off the record. It might have to be edited out. Sorry, just putting it out there. I would consider this a steak that's cooked medium rare, between medium rare and well.
Okay.
Because it takes some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, there's just so much juice and everything else to enjoy about it.
All right.
That's how I put it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.